All right. It is our favorite time of year. It is turkey season. Santa Claus is coming. The Grinch is soon to be here. Whatever it is that you are here for as far as holidays, it is an important time of year to be thinking about, hey, you know, I've got family gatherings coming up, and what's the plan? So I think one of the things that Ben and I wanted to talk about after our fantastic run of webinars on estate planning is how the heck do you talk to your parents about estate planning? And so I'd like to cover the three high level ways that you can talk to your parents about estate planning: superluminal, luminal, and subluminal. Superluminal planning conversations go like this: Hey, you, get your estate plan done. Luminal conversations would be, Hey, have you considered or talked to anybody about an estate plan? And finally, the subliminal estate planning conversation is you casually flash your parents repeatedly with a post-it note that says, plan your estate, plan your estate, plan your estate. Just hold it up at random, just out of their visual field, and they'll catch it and out of the corner of their eye, and hopefully they'll get the memo. But seriously, on a serious note, Ben, do you have any good ways to talk to folks about estate planning, especially if you're, hopping in unexpectedly, you're stuck in the car with Dad, and sitting in front of a stoplight? I mean, how does that come up usually?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is, at least the good news is you don't have to talk about politics on the holidays, but you can talk about this. But the big thing is there's this unsung rule in the estate planning world when it has anything to do with finances, which is you just don't talk about it. That's it's rude to talk about. But what's always going to be better is having the chance to actually have that conversation, because when mom and dad are gone, they can't explain anything anymore. So this is definitely a drastically important thing to be able to talk to your parents about, for them to talk to their kids about, because it's going to help stop people like us from getting involved after somebody passes away, when the heirs are all fighting over the property. So, a lot of parents have assumptions about what their kids know and how things are going to work. But if they don't have that conversation, a lot of times that's not how it's going to go. So sometimes, I mean, there's not necessarily an easy way to bring it up, other than you just have to kind of be brave enough to do it. You just bring it up. Once you have the conversation, it's never as bad as people think it's going to be. But you just want to make sure that everybody's aware of what the plan is, and that everybody's had a chance to maybe contribute to it. But at the end of the day, mom and dad are still the bosses of what happens. So honestly, I know I kind of laugh at it, but the superliminal, the saying, just get your estate plan done, sometimes is the only way to break through with parents. So definitely, when maybe don't trust them on that idea of when they say it's handled, because that's
Yeah.
not an okay answer.
How many estates have we done in the last year where they were told, "Oh, they took care of everything,"
Hmm.
and we dig in a little bit and find out there's no paperwork anywhere and nothing is, done in a way that will actually accomplish the goals. So I
Yep.
think
Or it
probably,
was done incorrectly.
oh,
That's
absolutely.
another thing is,
Yeah.
we live in this fun world of people trying to do things on their own online, and they just butcher the process. So it's really important to make sure, you have somebody professional doing this for you.
Absolutely. And, I think that it cannot be understated, the importance of sliding into the DMs, as it were. I think that's what the cool kids call it now. I've got a Gen Z person here. Is that what they call it now, nowadays, or is it something else?
Sure. Go
She says, sure, we'll go with that. So,
It's a good
so
enough answer.
uh, the apparently I'm not hip and with it. So yeah. So as far as uh, the uh, um, the way to go about talking to your parents that I always think of is, you know, um, I think that's right. You know, kind of that you need to get your estate plan done conversation is one way to do it. A lot of times, um, an effective strategy that I've seen used a few times is a um, kind of a conversation about retirement. So what are you guys planning on doing in retirement? You know, and that kind of leads into a sideways kind of conversation that you can slide in with if your parents aren't retired, if your parents are thinking about maybe moving closer to you, that's a good opportunity to have those conversations. Hey, you guys are planning on moving closer. Do you have an estate plan in place? And then a lot of our client base here in Illinois, I think they are. Um, by and large, we get kind of a mix, but we get a lot of Protestant folks who are fairly conservative in their viewpoints. And one thing to kind of talk about is that from a biblical viewpoint, I think that the Bible talks a lot about money. And so having those conversations, if your family is in that mindset and you are fairly conservative and as a family, not necessarily you individually, but yeah, as a family, if you're a fairly conservative Christian family, those conversations do need to happen. And so you can frame it as hey, look, we need to talk about this because this is something that needs to be addressed before you die. And mortality is part of that conversation and planning for passing that wealth from one generation to another. Or if you're going to choose not to plan to do that, that also
Mhm.
needs to be part of the conversation. And I think I've groused a little bit about Dave Ramsey over the years, but I think he's the leader in that thought space. And in a very real sense, there are some things that he gets right, and I think that the need to have a conversation about your estate plan, or at least to be able to sit down with your kids and honestly say, "Hey, I dealt with a professional. The professional helped me." Plan this, and we've got this, or a set of professionals, really, the unholy trinity, the lawyer, the attorney, and the CPA, um, you know, um, or sorry, the lawyer, the financial planner, and the CPA. Excuse me, I butchered that one. I sat down and talked to him, and that's an important place to be. So, that's a good one. In the Catholic space, is there an equivalent in the Catholic space, Ben? I'm not aware of one, but
Not necessarily a person having those same conversations in the media, but again, I mean, weekly you hear things about being a good steward of what was given to you. And I think that's the conversation you get with any Christian background and a lot of other religions. It's just taking care of what you've been given during your lifetime. And this is a really positive way to be able to do it. Um, not to necessarily switch subjects, but one other really good way to bring up this topic with family is making it a referral instead. And what I mean by that is saying, hey, I got my estate planning done. Have you guys gotten yours? And then that's, again, it opens up that door of being able to say, hey, this is what I did. And it gets you past that no talk rule as well, because you're doing it as well. So there's a lot of different methods of bringing it up, but the most important thing is just bringing it up.
yeah. All right, guys. Well, it's been a pleasure as always. Happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah. Did we miss any? Probably, but I'm sure in the comments somebody's going to tell us what we forgot. So, thank you so much, and thanks for joining me, Ben, again. And we will wrap this one for the day. Again, my name is James Greenwood. With me, I have Benjamin Young. We are attorneys licensed in Iowa and Illinois. Do not use this as any sort of attorney advice, and this is for educational purposes only. And just listening to this doesn't create an attorney-client relationship. I want to be real clear about that. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great day. Bye.